Jai Shri Gold. Hello friends, today I am going to do a very important topic. I will be very quick in the telling because it's a long message which I want to give. It's a very important message. Watch this only if you have full 10-15 minutes because it's a very important thing. And if you watch this, you don't need to watch any other news channels and not panic and be cool like a cucumber in this panic. The panic will be massive, it will be havoc. Everyone, even the prime ministers of many nations, is going to create a panic. They will panic themselves. You can see already Singapore prime minister what he is doing. There are so many nations leaders, they are in panic because they don't know what is the Trump game. But you, following the Ram time machine, you know what is the future. We have been telling you throughout the year, and I will conclude again on what we have been telling in a very detailed way, in a simple way, so you can understand better, right? So first you have to understand what is the problem, what is Trump's problem, why he is doing that. Then you will understand what is the solution he applied and where it is leading, what is the target, right? So that is very important to understand the basic problem. The problem is US has $36 trillion of debt, and this debt is increasing every year. So this every quarter, every 3 months, $1 trillion of new debt is getting added, and so which means every year $4 trillion, which means in few years it will reach $50 trillion, and there is no way they can pay. And if you see the bond yields, they are moderate right now, which means the interest on the bonds is less. And what happens is 70% of the bonds which are currently in the market, they are getting short term now, and the remaining ones are in long term. Now when they get expired, people are not renewing for another 10 years. They are looking for bonds for only 1 or 2 years. Now what has happened is, this was the case since the last few years. Now after Trump actually put this tariff and created havoc and created distress, they are going to either withdraw or renew it only for 1 year. Now what will happen in this case is that whenever $9 trillion of bonds are expiring this year, and there is no way they're going to renew for 10 years. So the problems cannot be pushed back for 10 years like it used to be in the past. So now if they solve the problem this year, next year again the same problem will come. Right? So 9 trillion bonds are expiring this year. Next, if they push the problem to next year, then $18 trillion of bonds will expire, because next year also $8 to $9 trillion of bonds are expiring. This year's bonds again, the renewal period will come up tomorrow in the next year, and again third year it will be even more. So if US pushes this problem for 2 more years, then the third year $30 trillion of debt, bondholders are going to come and ask back the government, give me the money, and they don't have a penny to pay you. You know, US government is running in $1 trillion deficit every year, is the physical deficit. And then on top of this, the debt is increasing. On top of this, the interest rates on the bond yields, right now they are moderate, but as people come to know that, US is going to collapse, the bond yields will go crazy up, which means they have to pay more interest on that debt, which is impossible, which means the debt, that interest payments will go to $2 trillion, $3 trillion, and there is no way, and the debt is ballooning, $4 trillion. There is no way they can go. So in 3 years, US game is khalas. People are thinking about 2030 targets and what not, 2050 targets. I'll tell you, 3 years is the max game US has. And Trump and Elon Musk knows this problem, that we are in the bankrupt. We are just at the edge of the valley. We are going to get deep down the valley if we don't solve the problem. So they have to take hard steps now. Unfortunately, last term of Biden was so horrible that he printed recklessly left and right, and now that problem has exaggerated. So the time that they had, now it has increased to such a speed that have to take immediate decision. So Trump, what options Trump has? Trump can't say that no, you can't pay the debt, right? So $36 trillion, there is no way they can pay even $1 trillion of that debt. Okay, forget about interest payments, right? So it's impossible. And then they are foreign holders of those bonds, and they are going to cry because when they want the money, if US is not going to give, then that means US has defaulted. So that US don't want, because if once they default as a country, then no one is going to trust them. So they can do a lot of gimmicks like what Trump is doing, but that confidence of giving back back the dollar, when someone gives back the dollar, whatever has been promised, if they don't give back, or even they give the treasury bonds and if they in return they don't get the dollar in time, that means the trust is eroded, that means they have defaulted, and that is the default which US have to avoid, and US have to have the trust. So how do they do that? They can't write off the debt, they can't lift the hands and say, hey, I can't give you that debt, that money which you have given me as a debt, right? So what they do? So what they have to do is they have to pay it back by decreasing the value of debt. So let me examine with a simple example here. Let's say this is your debt instrument, right? Let's say I have to pay the value of this. Let's say I have to pay 300 bottles of water, right, as my debt. Now, if each water bottle is 100 rupees, then 300 into 300 is my debt. 300 bottles I need to pay to someone, right? That is my debt, and each bottle is 100. So 300 into 100 is 30,000, right? 300 into 100 is 30,000. So 30,000 is my debt, but I have only 50 rupees in my pocket. So what do I do? So what I need to do is I need to reduce the water bottle value to 1 rupee. If I reduce this water bottle value to 1 rupee, then for 30 bottles, for 100 bottles, it's just 100 rupees. For 30 bottles, it is just 30 rupees. Now 30 rupees, I have 50 rupees. So 30 rupees I can easily pay back this debt, make it, and I will be in 20 rupees surplus, and I can go and buy gold with that 20 rupees, and I will eradicate my debt, and I'll be richer. I'm debt free to do anything I wanted, and my trust is not eroded. So this is exactly what US wants to do. US debt, see, my debt is in these bottles, US debt is the dollar. So it has $36 trillion of debt in this dollar. So if he can make this dollar crash, if it can make this dollar go down to 0 or go down to 1 rupees, then he can easily pay back the debt with the money he has, with the gold he has. With just one piece of gold, he can pay back his entire debt and still be the richest nation, right? And there are many countries who are debt soaked, and if US does this, US will be one of the countries without debt, and such a massive country without debt is like being like Russia, being like an exporting nation, being like a heavy natural resources nation. So only Russia has this kind of capacity where their debt is low and they are massively exposing, and it's a big economy, big country. Only Russia messes. China has massive debt. It has a massive GDP economy, about $20 trillion, but their debt is also so high. Their problems are also big, and they are dependent on others. So it's a lot of things are there, and this is not the natural resources that they are doing manufacturing things. So anytime people can dump and stop it, and they can be imposed. But so US want to be in a situation where this debt should become zero, and that means this dollar has to become zero. Now what happens? Why they wanted to become debt free is because first thing is that the nation, they want to get into gold standard. That's why they wanted to be debt free, because in a gold standard you can't print money as you like, which means there will be deflation of all the assets, and this debt taking ability will keep on eroding for everyone, right? So just making money will become so difficult. If you have to really grind 20 years to buy a house, that's how gold standard is. It goes very slowly, it's not inflating. You take an asset, it takes years to inflate. So that is the kind of economy. In that economy, he can't go and back and print recklessly. So that's why he wants to get the gold standard, become debt free. So when the country richest nations will be decided by the amount of debt it has, amount of M2 money it has, divided by the gold it has. So US already has 8,000 tons of gold, maximum gold, and their debt will become zero. Then they will be the rich nation because they have the assets, there is no liabilities. Imagine a balance sheet where they have huge assets, there is no liability. and the liability, if anything is there, is only internal pension fund. So if US wants to reach that situation and then boost the manufacturing, and then they want to, and in this gold standard what happens is, very key thing is, gold standard, any rich nation can also become a fakir, can become a very very poor if it is an exporting nation. So if it is an importing nation, so US is currently an importing nation, so it wants to get into exporting nation. And let me tell you, US is not able to do exporting nation. It is always having a trade deficit, because US holds the US dollar, which is a global currency, global reserve, world reserve. So US, the dollars is not just a currency, but is also an asset in the balance sheet of all banks, all central banks, many institutions, many pension funds, many hedge funds. So it's an asset, right? US treasury bonds is an asset. It's a dollar, is a reserve, global reserve. Now whoever holds that reserve, they have to keep printing that, massively keep on printing debt and distribute that debt, dollar denominated debt, throughout the world, because everyone else in the all other countries also are debt driven. In the world there is more than $200 trillion of debt that is floating around, and every country is depending on huge debts, and the debts keep on increasing. But in gold standard you can't do that. So that is why US holding the gold reserve, US dollar as a reserve, it can never become an export trade surplus nation. So to do that, they have to kill the dollar. They have to kill the dollar as a global reserve. And how can they do that? Because countries like India, they are holding lot of dollar reserve. China is holding more than $700 billion. Japan is holding more than $1 trillion of US debt as a reserve, and they can't one day say that, hey, you know what, this dollar is killed, these treasury bonds are zero, oh, I can't do it. That bill becomes default, and there will be massive wars, and the entire trust on the US will be eroded, and US will be isolated from the world. So Trump don't want to do that. What he want to do is, he wants to trap the nation in such a way that they only kill the dollar, they only kill the dollar as a reserve, they get their alternative reserves and dump the dollar and go, and then make the dollar value. You see, the value of dollar is high because dollar is used as a currency for oil trading. For most of the trading between any countries, dollar has been the market. Dollar has been the benchmark. So even gold, first in the world market, gold is measured against the dollar. Even let's say India, you are sending money from India to Singapore, so first it has to get converted to dollar rate, and from the dollar exchange it has to get converted to Singapore exchange rate, and then your exchange rate between India and Singapore is decided that way. So it is not direct. That is what has been agreed on 1971 in Nixon, that every currency will be pegged to the dollar, and dollar will decide between these nations what will be the rate. So dollar has always had that value. Now US wants to say that, hey, I want to kill my debt, so I'll kill this dollar. I want to become a trade surplus nation, so I will kill dollar as a reserve. Don't want this. I don't want to be the export. I don't want to hold the reserve. What is it? It is not benefiting me. I am not able to be. Now you have to understand what is the problem. I mean, US has been importing a lot for decades, 5-7 decades. Now what is the problem? Why it needs to be exporting nation? It's a rich nation. Let him import. No, that is not it works, because in gold standard, if you are an importer, then the importing country, the country which is exporting, might ask you gold in return. Because in gold standard, everyone wants gold, or it wants a gold backed currency. So which is backed with the gold. So it's as good as gold. So nobody wants to be an importing nation in a gold standard. And that is what the problem with US is, that it wants to get rid of that US dollar reserve so that it can become an exporting nation, and then whenever it sells that US oil, the shale oil or whatever it has in the natural resources or weapons, in return it can ask for what? The gold or a gold backed currency. So that is what US main two agenda is, to first get into trade surplus with all the nations to get into, to kill the dollar as a currency, to kill the dollar, US treasury bonds, to kill US dollar as a reserve, to kill the US treasury bonds as an asset in all the balance sheets across the world, so that it's easy to repay back and come to a net zero position, and then hold a lot of gold, so that, and bring in the gold standard, then it become the richest nation in the world, and again it can rule for next 50 years. So that is what the plan is, guys. The tariffs are make sure that tariffs is a special 26 movie. If you have seen, what happens is he plays a movie and all the people think that they are playing some game, but they are actually getting trapped in the other game which the one person is playing. So that's how it is, guys. So US is playing a game which other people are thinking that they are actually taking a revenge on the US by doing reciprocal tariffs and deviating away from the dollar and doing bilateral trades and all, but they are killing the dollar, and that's what the US Trump want, that they want people to kill the dollar so that he doesn't get the blame and other countries get the blame. So let's say China bypasses the dollar and dumps the dollar, and then buys something else, then its value will be eroded. When China starts dumping, already the US dollar value will crash, and then he will sell it in losses. So then he can't blame the US, telling that, hey, because of you I did it. No, Trump only asked for tariffs, which is fair, and you dumped the dollars and you bear the losses, you killed my currency. I will come with a new currency with more assurance. So US can play this game, and that is what the game it is. We have been telling you since 1 year. This is the game US is playing smartly, step by step. So is this tariff games, buying gold, they are buying secretly a lot of gold. They will do an audit of in Fort Knox. They will discover a lot of gold, and they are secretly buying gold. US will also get a gold confiscation law, and maybe my estimation is 10,000 tons of gold they will recover from the public. They already have 8,000 tons of gold in the reserves. They are secretly buying some 2-3,000 tons of gold in the market. Now already 700 tons is what they have already bought. So if they can do that, they will have 20,000 tons of gold and zero debt. Imagine the situation. They are the richest nations in the world. So just in comparison, China has only 2,000 tons of gold, 2,000, 2,500. Germany, 2,000, 2,500. China, Russia, around the same thing, between 2,000 to 2,500. France, same thing. So, and all other nations are below 1,000, below 500, like India is next, and it has what, 600 tons, 800 tons. So what I'm saying, guys, everyone, when there is no debt becomes zero, and they have huge gold reserves, they become the number one country, and that is what the Trump plan is to give. Now you have seen today's tweet also. Trump has said, don't worry, we are going to be the number one nation in the world. Why, on what basis is he assuring when the dollar is crashing, when people are doing bilateral dates, when he has implemented tariff in such a case that, so this is all bypassing, guys. This is short-term things. The long-term is people will ditch the US, they will ditch the dollar, and they will ditch the US dollar as a gold currency, and that is what the Trump game. They will be trapped in the Trump's game. They'll play the steps which exactly the Trump want. It's a 3D chess that Trump is playing. They are 5D chess, I would say, and all these nations will fall to it. You are lucky, guys, that you already know what is going to happen, what is the game, so you need not panic. Gold will skyrocket like anything. Overnight, it will be somewhere else. If you don't buy the gold after watching all my videos, if you have watched at least 3 to 4 of my videos and you have not gold, you are doing a very foolish activity, and I am telling you openly, because what is going to happen in the gold is going to be a panic. You will not get gold to buy. Forget about, I told this 1 year ago also, last April video, you can see, pure gold, the 24 karat gold will become impossible to buy for people. Before that happens, buy it, because that is, if you are buying between 22 carats and 24 carats, 24 carats is what you buy, because that will be rare. They will be all impure. In a panic, what happens, then people will start doing a lot of impurity, because the margin, even if they do 10% impurity, the money they will make is huge. So that's why the impurity will keep on growing, and because people will be rushing, and there is, because it will be going so fast high, that if people want to rush, explore and see what is the purity and all, next day it will be so high, so people won't take that risk, and they will keep on buying whatever is they sell. And that is when this impurity will become very high. And I'm telling you, there will be restrictions. There is not much enough gold already. The gold of 10,000 tons is the production of gold every year, 1,000 to 3,000 tons, and there is no and already 7,000 tons might have already been bought this year only. So forward contracts will go on in the gold market. There will be no enough gold. This paper gold is going to collapse. There is no backing for that gold. They are already 1:30 times. They have taken gold, hypothecated, and look at India, sovereign gold bonds. They bought, they gave the papers, they don't have gold. Where is 120 tons of gold's worth? India government, which is very reliable, has distributed sovereign gold bonds, took money, and they were supposed to buy the gold with that money. They didn't buy that. Now a taxpayer has to pay back that. So this is what is the case with ETFs, gold traded funds, and many paper gold instruments. So they are going to collapse. They will collapse in around May time, and by that time it will be panic. I'm telling you, this is the last bus for the gold. And if you listen to some Morningstar analysts, some bullshit guys, I'm telling you guys, not more than 100 people in this world know what exactly is the Trump plan. And if I'm telling you, 2,000 people more is getting to know. This is exactly the script. I tell many things, people don't believe, and at the time when it happens, it believes. I told COVID things, many things, everything happened. I told about the stock markets, gold, already everything is happening as we wanted, as we said. This is also happening. And let me tell you, please buy gold, because this is Trump's plan. And let me tell you, if I would have recorded this video, even I have recorded many videos like this with similar content, but that was assumption that Trump will do something. Now Trump is already doing. Now there is no way Trump can go back into another plan or withdraw this plan, because the trust is eroded already. So Trump has to proceed. So whatever I just said is bound to happen. So the probability of this happening is 99.99 now. It was like 95%. The probability when I started telling was 1%. And now it is 99.59% that I am giving. Though it was 1% at that time, I gave full assurance that it is, because no one believed it. No one. We were the first in the planet to tell you that this is going to happen, and this is all will happen. You can watch my channel, all these videos throughout. We have been telling what there are 50 reasons we gave you why the gold will rise, and we told you that US government itself will dump the dollar. They want the dollar crash. Nobody believed, but this is all is happening. They themselves are forcing a recession for temporarily for this interest rates thing. But these are all small things. These are all what, how many billions dollars? Not even $1 trillion. But Trump's game is to get them out of the $50 trillion mess, which it will happen in the next 2 years if they don't do anything. So this is not about that peanuts which we are talking about, like bond yields going lower, and then first of all, that is the plan. US wants this recession so that the bond yields go lower and then they can cheaply renew, but that's not going to happen. That is the plan of Trump, but it is not going to happen. So what will happen is band will actually go high, because it is all market driven. It is not something Fed can control or Trump can control. It is market driven, and as the trust erodes, the bond yields actually goes up, and it will happen. Okay, so people think that if US recession comes, bond yields gonna down, but it can actually go up. And I told it in one of my last video also that it can go up, and that is a very high possibility I gave that it will go up, because it's all trust based. It's not what Trump can decide. But nevertheless, the plan of the long term plan of Trump on why he has started this entire game is a gold game. You have to understand everything that is happening here is because of gold, and gold is what is going to go up crazily. Buy gold and you will thank me. Thank you so much.